Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to our garage tour of Farming Simulator 19. I keep calling this a garage tour, it's more than that. We've gone beyond simple garage tour now, and we've ventured far into the realms of all kinds of things, really. Yes, you can climb on the roof of your own house. That has now been confirmed. Absolutely confirmed, 100%. Right. You're doing wonderful, so I'm going to let you carry on doing wonderful. You can keep on going around the track. We'll ignore you. And it's slowing down. Why have you slowed down and stopped? You weren't supposed to do that. You were supposed to just keep cruising along. I don't understand. Oh, I said that I was going to try out these Manitous and so ons. I've got so much stuff on here. I really do think we ought to start selling some of this, because we're not getting any lag from it, are we? So let's put you going a bit faster. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the jump to trains. We'll switch the trains off for a minute. And then we're going to switch back to a combine over here. Now, I've got that combine going there. Well, I've had that combine going. So we've got 5,000 litres of oats on board this combine. So I'm not going to sell this combine yet, because we may want something to do with it. But I'm starting to get a bit fed up with having to cycle through all of our machinery. So I am going to sell some machinery. So we'll put you over there a minute. We go into our garage over here. And we can start having a look through. Armatrack, I've been told, is a Turkish tractor. It's got something to do with some Zeta bits on it, I believe. But it's a Turkish tractor. Armatrack is a Turkish company. It's made as cheaply as possible so that it's an affordable tractor for Turkish farmers. I didn't know that. That's a really cool little fact to know. So thank you to everybody for filling me in on that one. So we want to sell that one. Yes, there we go. And we will sell that one over there. Yes. Okay. And then we will sell... Let's sell some more of these. We'll sell you. Yep. You can go. The Terra Fellis. And the Roper Mouse there. That one can go. We've got a Holmer Terrados T440. That one can go. And then we can sell that one as well. It's a good job we're selling all this stuff, because obviously we're running very low on money at the moment. So we'd struggle if we weren't able to sell some of this machinery back. I really think we would. Let's get rid of you. Yeah, the cotton... Actually, I'm going to keep the cotton harvester for a minute, because we might use that for something a bit later on. Before we finish up this series, if we've got time, maybe we'll use that for something else. But we'll just leave it where it is for a minute. The rest of this stuff... Yeah, that can stay there for a minute. Right, so we're doing all right now. We're doing a bit better. We've got 3 million for sold vehicles. You can stay there. You can stay there. What am I looking for? I should have gone backwards through the machinery rather than forwards. I don't want you. Actually, I don't want... Is this one up here that I want to start with? I'll start you up. I'll bring you in round this way like that. And I'm going to press H right there. And this one's going to go racing up across the field as soon as he has unfolded and gotten everything ready. So there, that one is the Draper Belt that is working on that combine. And it is doing an absolutely wonderful job. So I'm just going to leave that one going for a minute. And I'm not going to do anything to it. Just so that we've got some crop there. Once it gets up to the other end, I am curious how it's going to cope with like the really uneven ground over there. I suspect that that is going to be much the same as what we're already used to. But there is another thing that I wanted to check. Another thing that somebody was asking me to look at, which I thought was actually a really cool idea. We haven't looked at this yet. There's two things that I want to look at, actually. First and foremost, we want to go to the cars. We want to go to the Lizard, pick up the 1978 version. We're going to select a colour. I've got pink already in my time-lapse series. So we're going to go with... What should we have? Let's have a navy. There we go. We haven't had navy for a while, if we've ever had navy. So we'll go with that one. 31,000, okay. And we can back out of there like that. So let's drop into... Let's shift-click. There we go. So that goes back to that one. And I want to go over to this one. Right, I'm getting a little bit closer up to the end, so I want to see what's going to happen. I also want to know which way it's going to go, whether we're going to turn to the left or to the right. It's the corner up here. I want to see what's going to happen with it on the uneven ground up here. It's turning the right way. This at least is a bonus. So we're going to be able to see in just a second what it's going to do when it goes over that raised piece of ground over there from our horse pen. And in it goes. Because up on that side, it's doing pretty much what you'd expect. It's raising the combine up in the air. There's quite a bit of the crop that it's missed on that little slice right there. Overall, it's not too bad. To be honest, that is quite steep ground that it's just gone over in order to be able to do that. So I'm quite impressed that it sort of got as much as it did before it like lifted up out of the crop and things like that. So let's just start you up a minute. And we'll drive this one back into the crop over here. And we'll go forward like that and we'll lift it up. So we're sort of... This is extremely steep ground that we're working on here. And it's still able to do a fairly reasonable job of actually picking it up. Because, I mean, you look at that, the table on there. That is quite a lot. But what's it going to be like just along on this piece over here? Now, obviously, this is a lot lower down. It's nowhere near as extreme. And that does actually seem to pick it up fairly well. It's moving along. I mean, yes, it is struggling with it. It does struggle to get through there, but it's quite uneven ground there in places. And I'm getting the distinct impression from sort of looking at this and playing around with this particular little mechanic that there is improvement now between what we've got at the moment and what we used to have. There does seem to be some little improvement in there. Obviously, this is like a difficult one for them to set. One of the requests that I've seen people putting on forums and so on is that we do actually have a proper flexible header for the combines for stuff like this. And yes, I agree, that would be really cool, but this is kind of looking like... Well, no, it is lifting it up out of the ground, isn't it? That is lifting it up out of the ground quite a bit. Well, we could also run some tests on this with, like, the plow and some other things maybe later on. But, yeah, looking at that... It's kind of like doing some of it, but there's definitely room for improvement there in places. But I think mostly, if you had a flexible header, that would cover most of it. But I don't know what would be involved with coding in a flexible header, so I've got no idea on that one. Anyway, that's not the bit that I wanted to look at. I want to go here. We will maybe take out some of these other combines. We've got these other combines, so we'll have a look at those. I did want to have a look at Bale mechanics and look at playing around with those loaders. There's something else I want to do first. Take this one here, I was told. Right? Listen to it first. Listen to the engine. A deep throaty roar. We have a deep throaty roar on this one. It does sound pretty good. And then I was told to sound the horn. Can't remember what the horn is on, hang on a minute. What's the horn? No, F1. F1 help. Honk. Oh, it's 0. Okay, we'll do that. Let's bring you around here. Sound the horn, I was told. Okay, I'm going to have to tell you that I already know what it's going to do, but this is just brilliant. Listen. I love it! I absolutely love it. I love it. We've got that horn back. And it doesn't stop. It just keeps going with that same horn. Fantastic. I love this horn. This is a horn that we had in Estancia Lapacho. Nearly fell over then. What I actually want to do is I want to come down here. All the way down here, we've got a sandcastle down there on the beach. And I want to drive into the water. I want to go too deeply into the water. I cannot drive too deeply into the water there. Right, I'm just hitting a wall. So it's not physically possible to drive too deeply into the water there on the beach. So the next place that we need to test this is we want to go there to that lake right there. and see if we can drive too deeply into that water. Now, where is the dealer? The dealership's over there, so it's going to be quicker for us to drive up this way. We've got a footpath over that side. We'll take that one. But there is no... there's no penalty for driving into the ocean. Right? So now, of course, the question is there a penalty up here for driving into the lake? There is a lake further up. I want to get to that lake, and I want to drive into it. And I want to find out if there is a penalty for driving into said lake once we get up there. So we can come up through here, and it's the other side of field 4, I believe. So we go through there like that, and yes, it's just up along here. So it looks like the cruise control does not disengage when you press escape. It used to. I'm pretty sure it did in FS17. I don't know if this is intended or not, but it doesn't disengage at the moment in this one. I love this effect here that we're getting as we're driving through the crop. You can see it being pushed down. This is a very small vehicle, so it's not actually destroying the crop as we go through it. Again, something I really like. I think this is a really nice little touch, that we are able to drive some things through the fields and not utterly destroy them all. And then we come down here into this lake right here, and this is answering the other question that I was asked. What happens when you go too deep into the water? Right? We cannot go too deep into the water. They've made it this time so that you cannot drive too deeply into the water. They've just put like an invisible film over the top of it. Because, and it's not because of this that people wanted to know. Right, we can leave that one there. We can leave our singing and all dancing, what do we call it, right there. We want to go through to here. It's because of this. It's because of the horses. Somebody wanted to find out if the horses do actually do it. I'm not naming horses in this series because we're not going to be in this series for more than another few days, so that's why I haven't named the horses after people in my Great Book of Names. I will be using the Great Book of Names in all of the series for all the horses that we get and stuff like that. The only reason I'm not doing it here is because that's literally it for horses, pretty much. We're just doing the odd little test here and there just to see what they can do and what their limits are. So we've got nothing up that way that we wanted to go to, have we? It's down here. We want to just run down to the beach, and we want to see what happens down there. We've got a little bit of beach here. Possibly may bring something up, and then we've got the beach over there that we went to with the vehicle. So if I go, I'm going to run this way. Actually, I want to run that way. I should have... Yeah, I want to go straight back over the direction that I already went. I should have just jumped out the other side. We want to run down there. We already know that just standing with our horse in front of the train, that ends up the thing going right through us. Somebody asked me also if I could stand in front of the train, just me on my own, and see what happens. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the train just goes right through you. It's just kind of like just passes through you invisible. Passes through you as though you were invisible. But we can test that one out. I'm not quite so worried about that one. I'll have a look in a minute. If we see the train coming through, we'll test it. If the train is nowhere near, then we'll wait, because I want to... Right, if you jump off of things, it does well. Sometimes the horse struggles. If you're like... Depending on how you're going up and down cliffs and stuff, he sometimes does struggle a little bit. So we come down here, and we can jump. We can do things like that. Out this way, we're going to go into the water. Oh. Right, so the horses can go too deep into the water, and there is actually a penalty. It's just that it puts them straight back to the stable. So there's the answer to that question. If the horse goes into the water, even though they've made it so it looks like most of the place on this map, you cannot drive your vehicles into the water too deeply, so it does make life a little bit easier for you. If the horse goes into the water too deep, that is going to end up... There is a penalty for that. It goes straight back to the stable. Now, this may be considered a penalty. This may not be. I can go and I can visit straight to the horse paddock. I didn't actually realize that. I do realize that now, of course, but I can go and I can visit straight to the horse paddock. The next thing that we want is we want to check this train. So I'm going to run backwards along the track until we find the train. And we're going to see what happens when the train approaches us at speed and whether or not it's going to take us out. There is the train. Let's see it in the distance. So we're just going to stand here and we're not going to move. And we're going to see what it's going to do. Whether it's going to actually stop for us or if it's just going to go straight through it. Are we going to go over the top? What's going to happen? Okay, you kind of jumping around a little bit. Some of it we go up on top of, and some of it we go underneath and go through. But it doesn't affect the train. It doesn't stop the train. The train just keeps going. Okay, other things that we're going to be answering are these trees. We've got big palm trees on this map that I'm assuming that we can cut down. Also, I'm assuming we can cut those down with the forester. What I want to know, though, is can we plant more of those trees? One thing that I have noticed is that we don't have any more. See, I got pallet sapling there, poplar sapling right there, and then sugarcane pallet. I don't have any others. That's brands, there's vehicles, and then we've got tools right there. But we don't have the placeables anymore with the trees. You know, we used to have the placeable trees. That's now gone. And I am a bit disappointed that you cannot buy trees anymore and place them down. That is one thing that I have been a little bit disappointed about. I'm hoping that they will be added in later on. We've got various different bunkers here. There's something that I wanted to just take a look at a minute. See what you could do with the silage bunkers. Also, where you can place them. Can we put anything down on the beach? Doesn't look like... you don't own this land. Right, wait a minute. We don't own that land. So we need to go to land right there. There's our beach right there. And we can buy that for 446,000. Yes. And then that stretch of beach right there, I'm going to buy that. And then we're going to find out if we can actually place down some of these. So it's the silos in there. We go for the bunker silo large, the single. You don't own this land. Object collides. Where do I... Oh. Okay. I can put one down on the beach. I can actually put one down on the beach. I can't actually see where I've placed that one. So I've placed that one. It's down on that section down there. So we can run down here. There it is. I can see it just beyond that house. So it doesn't show up. The bunker silos don't show up on the map with like a thing for themselves for the bunker silo. Actually, I thought it was down here, but it appears that it's not. Okay, where is... Is that it? No. Where have I put this bunker? I've gone and bought a bunker silo. I don't know where it is. Where are you? Let's go to you. Right, there's that one. Oh, I see. Right, I'm over there a minute. And then my new bunker silo is over here. Cannot be placed here. I can place it there. But it won't let me... You don't own this land. That's because it's off the coast. If it's off the coast, deformation failed. Deformation of the terrain failed. And then... That's failed down there. Is it going to be a complete failure, or are we able to actually, like, place it down here? It's saying that it's failed in places. I'm wondering if we can, like, make it so... Yeah, see, you can get it to actually go in places on the beach. And there, it's right over there, so let's just trot over to that one a minute, and we can have a look at this. So you can buy up the beaches as well. You can buy up a section of the beach, and you can place down placeables on the beach as well if you want to, and do things with them. Not really sure how you would sort of benefit from that in any particular way. These palm trees look very similar to the ones that were in Estancia Lapacho. I honestly thought the Estancia Lapacho map was going to be released with the base game, so I don't know where that one is and why that one wasn't released. Because as far as I knew, that was going to be like one of the big ones that was going to be released. Maybe that will come a bit later on. I'm not sure at the moment. I don't know where it is. Obviously, I'm still the day before for release, but you'll have all got the game by now. So if anybody knows the answer to that little mystery, then please fill me in. I would love to find out what's happened there, and then I can fill in the rest of you. Right, so we've sort of investigated a load of things over there. The horses, if they go too deep into the water, they just return to base. If the train will go through you, and sometimes it will sort of force you over the top, that kind of thing. I'm just going to, now, I'm going to go and I'm going to get that bale fork on, and we're going to have a little look at handling bales with keyboard steering. And I do have a joystick. I'm going to use a joystick for this. I suppose, really, actually, no, I'm not going to. In order to test this properly, I feel that it would be better if I tested just keyboard and mouse for those people who aren't able to get either, and you just have your keyboard. Excuse me. Right. That Russell Mash Combine is in the way. I bought this one so we could have a quick look at this Nova 330 and we could test it out. So we will test it out, but for a minute, I'm just going to move it off out of the way. Animations. Now, you got more and more moving parts on the machines with the animations with them. I think this is a wonderful thing that we've got. These like extra little bits that have been added in onto the machines. It's really nice attention to detail, and I really like it. I'm finding more and more of these little attention to detail bits on these machines that is absolutely wonderful. Just the little movements and stuff like that. Like in there, you see it in the cab. I'm using my mouse and I'm moving it around. They're doing the he's doing the same. Wherever I'm moving my mouse, he's doing the same. So if I use the joystick, I've set my joystick to do the same as what he's got. So if I pull the joystick, lean the joystick towards me, that way, that crowds it backwards. And then to tip it out, you push the joystick away from you. Like that. And then to lift it up, you pull the joystick back. To push it down, you push the joystick forward like that. Boom out is on buttons. You don't see him moving his thumb for buttons or anything like that, but boom out is one button, boom in is another button. Set those to whichever you want, obviously. I set them to the... I've got 4 buttons on the top of my joystick. I've got a up and down button. I use that, the up button to close the grab, the down button to open the muck grab, and then I've got a left and a right button. The right button pushes out the boom, and the left button pulls the boom back in, because I feel that's the same way as what I've got my joystick. That's sort of in, that's pushing it out or pushing it away from me. So I do the same with the buttons as well. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but I'm kind of hoping it does. Right, so let's see how Bale physics cope in the game. We've done a little bit with Bale physics in the Let's Play, so I have moved some bales around a little bit. One of the big things I always struggled with was moving multiple bales at once, because they would slide off the forks and the bales would slide off of each other. Now, those, I tipped them off of each other, but they didn't look like they were sliding off of each other particularly. So let's just bring you over this way, and I'm going to turn round like that, and then I'm going to sort of straighten out a little bit like that. And then I'm going to tip these bales over, because it's very rare that you would store a round bale on his flat. You normally store them on this side like that, especially if you're going to store them outside. But even when in the shed, a lot of people will store a round bale on their side and stack them like that, because you very often you can stack them just a little bit more stably. That, you know, the stack is a bit more stable. However, being said, it's kind of I guess it doesn't really matter quite so much, and it does depend on personal circumstances with stacking them. Right, so we do that right there. It came off of the fork fairly easily, right? And it's never going to be an easy thing to like deal with bale mechanics. So I can just push that one in there. What's it going to be like if I try... Well, that's slipped off there a little bit because I didn't have very much of it sort of caught on. We'll bring this back round. I struggle with this. I really do. I struggle to find like a good position, and I do struggle to do this with the keyboard steering. Let's try this from in-cab a minute. Sometimes I actually find it a little bit easier to do some of this work from in-cab, just with some of the bale work. Not all of it, but some of it. Right, I'm pushing those bales along. This is always something that in FS17 would result in the loader riding up onto the other bales. It's not doing that as much now. So the bale mechanics have definitely had some tweaking, right? You're going to really struggle to get a realistic bale mechanic in any game. You seriously are. It's going to be very difficult. But I can tell you at the moment that these bale mechanics now are more realistic than FS17. There has been some tweaks to the system. They do handle a little bit differently. It's not foolproof. It's not perfect. Right? But to be honest, you're gonna struggle with it. And I can tell you this. I have personally got several thousand hours experience handling bales with one of these machines. Okay? In real life, I have done several thousand hours. I am talking literally thousands of hours I have spent handling bales with these machines right here. This is a Massey... Wait a minute. I thought this was a Manitou. I was looking at these in yesterday's episode. So, well, what's the difference between these two? I don't really get it. What's the difference? That's a Massey Ferguson and that's a Manitou. That would be the difference there. I cannot believe that. I wonder how many of you have said this in the comments. Because I haven't seen yesterday's video yet. So, we've got these bales. I have spent... So, I have not driving a Massey Ferguson. I've never driven a Massey Ferguson telehandler, but it's not a lot different to a Manitou telehandler. Manitou is the one that I've driven mostly. Manitou and Merlot are the ones that I've done most of my work in. I've done a bit in others as well. JCB, I've done quite a bit in. And what else did I drive? New Holland I've looked at a little bit. So a few different JCB models, none of which I was particularly impressed with, I got to be honest. JCB was my least favourite. They always were. I never liked driving JCBs. They never seemed particularly well suited for it. But I'm looking at this now. I'm moving this bale around. I'm shunting it around a little bit. I'll bring that one over there. And then I'm going to line it up like that. Lift that one up. It doesn't catch the bale in front of it as much as it used to, so it's kind of like removed the outer hitbox a little bit, which is fantastic. And I'll drive down and I'll put that down. You do have a little tiny bit of play on that in order to be able to move things. Right, the bale does have a little tiny bit of forgiveness on it, which is absolutely brilliant. So we can bring that one down there and... we can bring that over, so I can lower it down. Right, you see that? There's a little tiny bit of movement on the fork for the bale. And that is going a lot more towards realism, because you do get a little bit of movement with the fork inside the bale. Not a huge amount. These bales, especially the bales, have been baled up nicely. You do want a little bit. If there's no movement, it means the bale has been done up like a brick, and in a month's time when you start trying to open bales, you're going to be pulling apart sheets of cardboard instead of actually fluffy straw, right? You don't want your bales done like bricks, but at the same time, you do want resistance in there. You do want the fork to have a bit of resistance. So we've got some good quality bales here. They are able to pick you up. There's a little bit of movement in there. Possibly you'd be thinking, oh, I don't know, you know, these may be baled a little bit tight. But you can see there is actually a little tiny bit of movement inside that bale before we place it down. So I can tell you, looking at this, and sort of going between this and FS17, there has been improvements to bale physics. Right? They may not be wonderful. There may be other aspects of bale physics that are still in need of some work. But there is definitely some improvements on bale physics right now. I can tell you that like with absolute certainty. I've got thousands of hours of real-life experience handling bales. And these handle much more like real-life bales than I've had in any of the previous editions of the game. It's still not perfect, but now when I'm in there, if I'm especially like being in cab right here, right, I'm driving these around, and when I tilt back, those bales aren't sort of tilting back towards me, which is one little thing maybe they should be. But there's a little bit of movement on these bales. The way that they're kind of moving around a little bit, it's feeling slightly more realistic, right? It is feeling a bit more realistic. So, and also coming off of there, like the little bit of movement with the bale as it fell onto the ground. These are all positive points. And it's something that I've always been in absolute awe of, that they've been able to get the physics as close to reality as they were in the last version, and this is an improvement. We've actually got better bale physics in this game. And if somebody tells you, no, we haven't, these are not realistic, no, they're not 100% realistic. But I challenge you, Mr. or Mrs., these are not realistic, I don't like it, it's terrible. I challenge you to write a physics program that could actually represent real bales. Because bales are not like concrete blocks. They've got very, very different characteristics to a concrete block. Right? Look at that. Look at that. See? See the way that bale is actually flipping on the top? That is very realistic. I can assure you that is realistic. And anybody who has spent several hundred hours driving a machine like this, at some point will have accidentally had the bale topple over the top and land on the boom. Right? It's okay down there. It's when you do it up here, right? It's when you're doing it up there. You're craning your neck up, trying to see. You tilt it back too far. That one falls off, and then it comes down with a bang on top of your machine up there. Now, this machine, there's a very good chance it would actually crack that window, depending exactly how the bale landed. The one I used to drive, it had that cage on the outside of the glass, not on the inside of the glass. I'm quite glad it did, because I dropped more than one bale on it. I used to stack up these bales. We'd stack them up 8 high, so you'd be lifting a lot of bales up into the air. But overall, I'm impressed. Now, the round bales, I've not handled round bales anywhere near as much as I've handled square bales. So I'm not so much of an authority on whether or not I consider these to be representative of real-life bale physics. I would say so, though. They're going to the side. One thing about round bales is that it's more difficult to put a spike into the side of the round bale than it is into the top of the round bale. Into like that. You got the top of the bottom of the round bale. That's the direction you would normally pick up a round bale, like that. Yeah, the spike goes in real easy, and it does so perfectly. Very often you can't get the spike all the way into the bale if you're putting it in sideways on. You wouldn't normally do that anyway. It'd be it's unusual to pick them up like that, unless you've stacked them away in a barn like that, just because it was a bit easier for you to stack them away like that. In which case, then yeah, maybe you'd pick them up sideways on. But even then, most people I know that would pick them up, they would put the spike into the side, bring it down, and then put it in onto the end like you would normally. So there we have it. That is all I'm going to do today. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. Obviously, get into the comment section down below and let us know if there is anything in particular you'd like me to test. I'm very happy that we've had a good look at these bales. I'm happy with how the bale physics have been improved. It's still not 100% realistic, but I think we're going to have an easier time of handling bales in this game than we have in previous ones. It does remain to be seen. Obviously, there's a lot more testing to be done. Stacking in sheds, big lots of multiple bales all being stacked together. This is the kind of thing we only find out with time. So anybody, if you've managed to do any handling of bales so far with your new versions of these games, then get into the comment section and let me know what you think about the bale handling. Very interested to find out what your experiences are with it and how you feel that it's been improved, or whether you don't think it's been improved at all. Personally, I quite like what I've seen so far with these. Anyway, that is all we've got time for. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.